Our customers sent us inspiration photos for their kitchen counter and backsplash from their vacation in Florida. Keep watching to see how we created the look of this beautiful beach kitchen for their home that overlooks the marina in Long Beach, California. I used bare tropical sea and natural gray, followed by metallic cobalt blue spray paint to add some depth and dimension. Because I primered the surface as well as fogged it, using a translucent color will allow me to see some of the undertones that I created. To help my beach counters look as realistic as possible, I like to combine translucent dyes, some opaque dyes, mica powders, and pigment paste. Here I'm simply pouring out and following the line of the sand. As you can see, I don't pour out the colors in rows or bands of color because I like to be able to blend them easier. So I integrate the lighter and the darker, and it really replicates the look of the ocean. Bondi Blue is technically a translucent dye, but don't be afraid to add more drops into your cup until you achieve the optimal color. To match the backsplashes that I already poured, I used Bora Bora mica from Black Diamond, and I added some Bondi Blue and Ocean Blue dye from Stone Coat Countertops just to get a darker tone. The key to this step is lightly blending. You use different shades of colors, so now you don't want to create all one tone, so you just want to gently push them together. If you've ever seen the really clear waters of Hawaii or the Caribbean, you know that when you look down into the lighter waters, you still see masses of land underneath that creates the deep, dark colors. And so by pushing them together, you're able to recreate that look. I typically like to reserve a little color in my buckets just so I can add a little hint here or there where it's needed. I'm often asked if there's a right way to torch, and there is. You want to be able to pop the bubbles, so you need to get close enough to do that, but not so close that you're going to scorch it. A slow sweeping motion is your best bet. Because I do so many layers on my beach counters, sometimes I forget to hit record. So what you didn't see is me using Rust-Oleum Stone Effect spray over the sand areas to create a pebble beach effect. Now to lock in that stone effect, I created a very transparent gray, and I'm using a very thin layer in order to see through it. Remember when I said sometimes I forget to hit record? Well, sorry, I already did the first wave, but now I'm going to show you how to do the rest. Decide where you want your waves, put down your white lines, and put clear behind it so that way you can push the white over the clear to create your wave effects. I usually push the clear out about 6 inches or so, and I caution you from putting it out too far because the waves will often keep going as long as there is clear for it to move through. Now for these waves, I didn't want any cells, so I didn't allow my epoxy to set up in my cup. But normally for any waves I do want cells, I'll give it about 15 to 20 minutes to set up before I start pushing it out with my heat gun. Once I make the first pass, I come back and blow the waves out again until I'm happy with them. For this project, I wanted a wispy wave out in the distance. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has wiped away epoxy from a project. I didn't like the waves in that area, so I wiped it away and started again. Luckily, I had enough epoxy left in my cup and enough time to create what I wanted. Now, the more heat that I add, the more the waves are going to move. So if you are happy with your waves at a certain point, do not apply more heat. Just let them be. I have a love-hate relationship with beach waves on my countertops. I cannot walk away, and I continue to work them until I am absolutely in love with them. Now I'm going to work on my first foam wave. I'm going to do the same process as I did before, but this time I have let the epoxy set up in my cup about 15 to 20 minutes so that way it will create cells and give it that thick foamy appearance. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm adding more heat after I just pushed out the waves. Well, sometimes when I put too much white on the line, it doesn't break up and cell very much, so sometimes I have to give it a little bit more heat. Now for the next several days, I continue to add more wave layers until I'm happy with the overall look. You'll notice I'm using a different attachment on my heat gun. I really suggest that you practice with different attachments to find which one you like best. I should also mention that right after I push out my wave, I immediately hit it with a torch, but just a little bit, which will help create more cells. Now sometimes I get impatient like I did right here, and I added another wave layer. What I should have done was waited for the other wave layer to set up and then created this next wave layer on top. That creates a 3D effect and it doesn't interfere with the wave you just created. See how when I use my heat gun, that same heat is affecting the wave that I just did moments before. It's okay though, because I'll continue to add more layers. With each foam layer you add, it sits on top of the last, so you really get an incredible 3D look. I also added a translucent layer in the water area to create depth and dimension. You will likely have to do mini flood coats to add clear in front of your waves to help everything level out. I typically have a favorite wave section, and this by far is it.